No pot DUIs. Challenge every arbitrary pot field sobriety test. How to identify Trumpster Oath Keeper cops or volunteer cops. Oath Keeper cops are a hidden danger in your rear-view mirror. Do you know if one or several of the cops surrounding you are in a secret cult organization? Right-wing patriots have been conspiring to use the facilities of our nation against our democratic way of life and governance. In fact, they are motivated to join the military to get murder training and for many combat experience. The plan is then to get out of the military and get jobs in law enforcement. If they fail to do that, then they go for first responder jobs. If they fail in that, then join the police and fire volunteer reserves. Exposing the warning signs. Learn the warning signs indicating an insurrectionist traitor to his oath of office. Learn how to identify and root out dangerous Trumpsters in your local law enforcement. Be able to spot the signs, involuntary indicators, and behavior patterns of Oath Keepers or KKK hiding in uniform. Oath Keepers unveiled infiltrating local institutions. This lesson is about the Oath Keepers. Think of them as the badge and uniform arm of the far right. They have come out of the shadows and into the limelight. In the Trump years, they felt comfortable enough to show up in Ferguson. Now they came to the Capitol to commit insurgency. Because of a set of indictments of groups acting within the failed insurrection, it's clear there was no Antifa or BLM there. Not even to counter-protest the incident that took place on January 6th. We all know about that. I have it in my vlog, what team the rioters were on. A federal court from the District of Columbia has indicted 3 individuals with a far-right paramilitary organization known as the Oath Keepers. They were indicted for conspiring to obstruct the Congress on January 6, 2021. And they call themselves the Guardians of the Republic. Actually, they are American ISIS. A far-right internet creature. Like ISIS, they talk about occupying areas and establishing a new religious state from out of a failed state. They don't so much do, but complain. So not a perfect parallel in that, but these cosplay Trump flag wavers hate the USA. They consider this to be a failed state because of gay civil unions, gun safety and accountability regulations, and their religious-based paranoia. They want to infiltrate any position of public trust, but have an anti-government or anti-establishment attitude. Anything that can't be worked to some advantage gets broken instead. Shrink the government until it is small enough to drown in the bathtub. Militia organizations are already in police forces, where they gravitate toward the more unsavory and less monitored work of drug interdiction. A position where they are allowed to lie, cheat, steal and kill on a daily basis. They are the cops you always hear about making a false arrest, or often, much worse misconduct. Hammers that see only nails in everything. Those are the ones to pull off duty a while for real examination. Trumpster indicators to look for. Look for these things that you rarely see with good cops. Sleeve tattoos with gang motifs like spider webs. Dull blue-gray prison tattoos. Prison tattoo motifs like bricks or tears. Sweating, jittering, sudden aggressiveness indicating stimulant abuse. Oversized biceps and enlarged surface veins indicating steroid use. Disregard of procedures, instead using an entitled cocky approach. Military tattoos or pins. Often voices political opinions or preferences. Shows racial bias. Shows sexist attitude. Refuses to give reason for the stop or state what probable cause they have. Needs to huddle with other officers before making an arrest. Uses a cell phone for a purpose that could be done over the radio. Turns off, cups in hand, or otherwise defeats the body mic or camera. Acts like a secret police force. More to come. Where militant groups come out of. It is a trend you would expect when repeatedly told the federal government is the main enemy. Remember Reagan's joke, "I'm from the government, and I'm here to help." While Democrats nodded a tacit yes, because bureaucracy can be clumsy and slow, Republicans characterized it as something sinister. equal to a prelude to a communist takeover. Populist anti-establishment cynicism and fear of big government overreach are twisted into a stream of paranoia-generating accusations, saying the state and federal government is more and more tyrannical. Scratch the veneer of the surface of their grievances, and you will find the hidden corporate special interest providing the push that got the story started. Here's how it works. A regulation that the rancher is told is against him is actually regulating the rendering plant upstream that doesn't care if it infects the water supply. So the right-wingers say that it is the federal government, or government in general, that is the greatest threat to all Americans every day. So the whole thought process, or their entire community, is based on selectively targeted conspiracies. They talk about the presence of a deep state. Well, there is an unelected bureaucracy that is problematic in parts, like in law enforcement. Incidents where people have been offended by a rude office worker, or cops abusing and illegally enhancing their authority, does breed legitimate disdain of authority. However, the cartoon image of a federal deep state acting like a star chamber is pure distraction. This is a way to subvert legitimate topics of protest into the nihilist QAnon manipulations. Q has the followers chasing ghosts and completely devoid of the credibility required to make real changes to restore American society to its promises. The first prime target of QAnon was Hillary Clinton back in 2016, when their fantasies were completely anti-Hillary, which may have been what attracted Trump to Oath Keepers and other militant groups. The Republicans feared Hillary Clinton because they know she would potentially be the most qualified and successful president in U.S. history. As a Democrat, a situation that would make it downright embarrassing to advocate the Republican corporatist and elitist greed agenda ever again. Trump's on-off relationship with hate groups. When the Capitol Hill siege incident took place, Donald Trump described these people as beloved patriots. Now look at the Anti-Defamation League report about that day, where it describes them as anti-government extremists who seek to recruit military and police. The Oath Keepers were so active in the last few years that the FBI began to surveil and sit on them. The Trump administration cut all the funding for this work when he first took office. So Oath Keepers have been very active and out from behind their clubhouse walls. There are many right-wing media organizations, many platforms, the radio shows, right-wing television shows, and internet-based attackers. It's a cottage industry which markets their conspiracy theories. AM radio has been ruined and made unlistenable to the traditional music listening audiences. A pattern emerged in radio that went like this. A rock station with desirable range and facilities gets bought out and made into a sports station. On weekday afternoons when there are no games, they run Rush Limbaugh. The cycle completes with all right-wing hosts, all day and night. Shows which talk about corporate scripted but useful, false narratives. Sometimes they promote right-wing hate group members with interviews. Here's an example of one promoting the Oath Keepers and one of their conspiracy theories. Elmer Rhodes called to one of these shows where he gave one of his ideas. He said that there is an alternate reality where Joe Biden is a pawn for the Chinese Communist Party. That is claimed as his reason behind why he does not support the presidency of Joe Biden. This is just one of their typical ad hominems, presented as a conspiracy they want you to believe. It is a rather lazy work of trickery. The deafness they have about Donald and Ivanka Trump's shady China business is deafening. Instead, we are to buy the line. Joe Biden is an agent of Chinese Communist Party. One of the worst developments is political weaponization of the Oath Keeper cops. In the 2016 general elections, they put this threat on their website. An article they posted said, if Hillary wins the 2016 election, the result will be a civil war in the United States. This is the kind of stuff proclaimed on their website. Since the Oath Keepers are already climate change deniers, when Oregon Governor Kate Brown ordered state troopers to bring into the Capitol chamber Republican legislators, who were in hiding from their duties, to have the vote on a climate change law. For that action, the Oath Keepers have threatened her that there would be a civil war in Oregon. Oath Keepers try to influence former military people, armed veterans, firefighters, and former police. Also, they encourage young recruits to join the military, be military police, and then return and seek employment in a red state police department. So these people are trained and also on to kill. The oath they claim to keep is the same as police or military oaths. However, they are seditious cells whose purpose is bent toward evil hidden agendas beyond their understanding. What oath did we take? We took the oath to support and defend the Constitution of United States of America. Their false narrative is that it is against enemies both foreign and domestic. Then they invent paranoid theories and false narratives. They paint our way of life in a democratic republic as the unknown domestic enemy. Their most successful lie is also the most dangerous, and that is, that Democrats are coming to take all the guns away. This has never been a plank in the Democratic Party platform, which anyone may read. That didn't stop the NRA to drive people shooting mad and become the perfect dupes for an attack on America. Now we know the Russians were involved in the NRA's calls to prepare to fight the imaginary gun grabbers. Right-wing cops gravitate to drug enforcement. Cops in this cult gravitate toward positions in drug enforcement, which makes sense. It matches their mentality and skills. If cops can invent and push a vast conspiracy theory, how much more so would they invent probable cause? Also, they like that they can cut procedural corners and conduct themselves as rogue agents, with immunity, thus impunity, with little fear for oversight. Beyond that, you need to be able to notice a smug-faced attitude. As if they were members of a superior social class. Because they don't just think you are a criminal, but also a sheeple, ready to be fleeced. You are of no worth because you lack the sacred knowledge. These are dirty cops that are sworn only to steal, destroy, and kill. The right-wing Trumpster media that they believe in reinforces their totalitarian tendencies. It will continue creating more false narratives and suspiciously convenient conspiracy theories for attacking the Joe Biden administration. Cannabis bigotry of Oath Keeper cops. They attack our cannabis community trying to reassert prohibition, based on the exact same kind of rhetoric. They will lie to legislators considering cannabis legislation. When pot is legalized in a state, Oath Keeper cops exploit, or just invent, prohibition loopholes to turn your legal use or possession back into something illegal again. Oath Keepers still plan to infiltrate local institutions on all levels. It's a lot easier if you're part of the first responder community already. Because then you're perceived as a good guy, got a big good guy stamp on your forehead. At an August Appalachian Summit, Oath Keepers founder, Stuart Rhodes, outlined the far-right group's intention to have members infiltrate local institutions, including volunteer fire departments and churches. The three-day summit, held outside of Gilbert, West Virginia, gathered together like-minded groups. Around 100 Oath Keepers, 3%ers, Tea Party, and militia members all came to network and train local activists on taking back the country, by force, if necessary. Creative Commons Attribution License, reuse allowed. Let's look into this infiltration of the church by the Trump cult and militia groups. Infiltrating Oath Keepers. This is the advice. The best thing you can do is to become part of the existing first responder community in your town. Go join the volunteer fire department. Okay, in your community you need to go join the volunteer fire department, or search and rescue, or volunteer ambulance driver, EMS. Go join your police auxiliary, or reserve officer. We can tie these down, men. You got all those choices that are already there, you should go pick one of them. The skill sets are how to talk about the cell. Then you can come back later and say, hey, I'm Joe with the volunteer fire program. Hey, I'm starting Neighborhood Watch. I'm working with Officer Friday at over here local PD. Have that together with this Neighborhood Watch. Now you're going to get much more participation. But if you walk up and say, I'm Mr. Militia. I'm starting militias here. As the militia commander said earlier, it turned into the M word, a dirty word. Now it's like the N word. So revitalize it. I don't care what you call it. There's the government institutions, that's town, county, state. Where you get into official things and they're like the sheriff department reserve deputies. Then you have things outside of government. That's your neighborhood. Next one's your church. The churches in this country, you've got people, you've got a building, got leaders, but what are they doing? Are they representing the church? Taking seriously its responsibility to be a refuge for the community. To be the source of charity, to be the source of disaster relief. You see, this militia recruiter only wants to control responders and oblige the church to do his disaster relief. All for one end. Prevent his cult from want during the disruption and carnage of their disastrous insurrection plot. Click here to get the books and see my other Malcolm Nance interviews. Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, Reddit.
Thanks for your help.